The night began like any other, with the gentle hum of rain tapping against the window and the distant rumble of thunder. Emma sat curled up with a book, savoring the rare peace that came with a storm. But as the wind picked up and the rain turned fierce, a sudden, desperate cry pierced the darkness. She froze, heart pounding, straining to hear it again. There it was, a wail, unmistakably close. Without thinking, Emma rushed to the door, her mind racing with questions. She flung open the door, and the world seemed to hold its breath. There, on her doorstep, wrapped in a thin, soaked blanket, was a tiny baby, eyes wide with terror and confusion. For a moment, time stood still. The storm raged around them, but all Emma could see was the helpless child before her. She knew, in that instant, that nothing would ever be the same. What happened next would change her life. Emma's small town had once been a place where everyone knew each other's names, where neighbors shared laughter. There was a time when a knock at the door meant a friendly visit, not suspicion. Now, doors stayed closed and curtains were drawn tight. Whispers of old arguments and fresh betrayals lingered in the air. People passed each other on the sidewalks with wary glances, clutching their secrets close. Even small acts of kindness had become rare, as if everyone was waiting for someone else to make the first move. Emma felt the weight of this change every day, longing for the connection that had been lost. As she stood in her doorway, cradling the lost baby, she couldn't help but wonder if this unexpected arrival might be the spark the town needed a chance to remember what it meant to care for one another. Emma's hands trembled as she brought the baby inside, her mind swirling with questions and fears. She had never cared for a child before, let alone one abandoned in the middle of a storm. Yet, as she gazed into the baby's wide, searching eyes, she felt a surge of determination. She couldn't turn away, not now. Not when this tiny life depended on her. She wrapped the baby in a warm towel, whispering gentle reassurances, her voice shaky but kind. She searched her cupboards for formula, improvising with warm milk and a clean spoon, doing her best to soothe the child's cries. Every small act changing a makeshift diaper, rocking the baby to sleep, singing softly in the dim light, was an act of courage, a choice to care despite her uncertainty. Word of Emma's discovery spread quickly through the town, but instead of support, she was met with suspicion. Some neighbors peered through their windows, whispering about the baby's origins and Emma's decision to take her in. A few even warned her to call the authorities and let someone else handle it. But Emma stood firm, her quiet strength shining through. She knew she was doing the right thing, even if it meant standing alone. What she didn't realize was that her actions were being watched not just by those who doubted her, but by others who longed for hope, for proof that kindness could still exist in their divided town. In the stillness of her home, Emma clung to hope, unaware that her simple acts of compassion were about to set something extraordinary in motion. One act of kindness against a backdrop of suspicion. Emma's choice stood out like a lantern in the dark. At first, the town watched from a distance, curiosity mingling with doubt. But as days passed, something unexpected began to happen. Mrs. Patel, who lived across the street and hadn't spoken to Emma in months, appeared at her door with a basket of baby clothes. She hesitated, awkward at first, but Emma's grateful smile melted the tension. Soon after, Mr. Harris, the retired school teacher, stopped by with a box of old toys, his gruff manner softening as he watched Emma cradle the baby. Even teenagers, usually lost in their own worlds, offered to run errands or help with chores, drawn by the quiet courage they saw in Emma's actions. Word spread, and old friends who had drifted apart found themselves reconnecting, sharing stories and laughter as they gathered to support Emma. The town's icy reserve began to thaw, replaced by a cautious warmth. People who had once avoided each other at the market now exchanged kind words and shy smiles. The baby, once a symbol of fear and uncertainty, became a bridge reminding everyone of their shared humanity. Emma noticed the change, subtle at first, but growing stronger each day. The loneliness that had weighed on her heart began to lift, replaced by a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. The town, too, seemed to breathe easier, as if remembering what it meant to care. Emma's single act of kindness had set off a ripple, reaching places she never could have imagined, and the first signs of healing began to bloom. Just as the town began to rediscover its warmth, a shadow fell across Emma's newfound hope. One afternoon, a stranger arrived, a young woman, eyes red from crying, clutching a worn photograph. She claimed to know the baby's identity. Emma listened, heart pounding, as the truth unraveled. The baby was not abandoned by fate, but left deliberately by someone Emma once trusted, a close friend, who, overwhelmed by her own struggles, had chosen Emma's doorstep as a last resort. The revelation struck Emma like a cold wind. She remembered every moment of trust, every shared secret, and now every lie. What she learned next could have destroyed her. Her friend had watched from afar, too ashamed to ask for help, hoping Emma's kindness would save the child when she herself could not. Emma's heart ached with betrayal. Anger surged. How could someone she cared for so deeply use her in this way, turning her life upside down without a word? The pain was sharp, mingled with confusion and sorrow. She wanted to shut the door, to retreat into the safety of anger, but the baby's innocent gaze reminded her of the love she had poured out, not just for the child, but for the town itself. Emma stood at a crossroads, torn between the sting of betrayal and the possibility of forgiveness. The trust she had given so freely now felt like a wound, but deep inside, she wondered if choosing compassion again despite everything might be the only way to truly heal. Emma spent a sleepless night, wrestling with her emotions. The pain of betrayal clung to her, heavy and suffocating, whispering that she had every right to be angry, to close her heart and never trust again. But as dawn crept through her window, she looked at the baby sleeping peacefully in her arms and realized that holding onto anger would only deepen the wounds for herself, for her friend, and for the town that was just beginning to heal. Forgiveness, she knew, was not about forgetting or excusing what had happened. It was about choosing to let go, to free herself from the bitterness that threatened to take root. With trembling hands, Emma reached out to her friend, inviting her in with a quiet, steady voice. The conversation was raw and honest, tears flowing as truths were spoken and apologies offered. Emma's forgiveness was not easy, but it was really a gift given not just to her friend, but to herself. The news of their reconciliation spread quickly, and something remarkable happened. Others in the town, inspired by Emma's courage, began to mend their own broken relationships. Old grudges were set aside, apologies exchanged, and the walls that had divided neighbors for so long started to crumble. The relief was palpable, a collective exhale after years of tension. In choosing forgiveness, Emma had shown everyone that healing was possible even after deep hurt. The town, once fractured by suspicion and pain, found unity in the simple, difficult beauty of letting go. And as Emma looked round at the faces now filled with hope, she knew that forgiveness had set them all free. Looking back, Emma realized that every act of kindness, no matter how small or uncertain, had created ripples far beyond what she could see. Her courage to care for a lost baby, her willingness to forgive, had not only changed her own life, but had helped heal an entire community. Kindness and forgiveness, she learned, are never wasted. Even when the outcome is unclear, even when the risk feels great, these choices plant seeds of hope that can grow in the most unexpected places. Imagine what your world could look like if you chose kindness today. Even in the face of doubt or fear, it might be as simple as reaching out to someone who feels alone, offering a genuine apology, or letting go of a long-held grudge. These small steps can open doors, mend hearts, and inspire others to do the same. The story of Emma and her town is a reminder that we all have the power to create change, starting with a single act of compassion. When you choose kindness, you never know how far its impact will reach, but you can be sure it never fails. Now, it's your turn. The world needs more kindness, more forgiveness, and more people willing to take that first step. Even when it feels hard, you have the power to be the change, just like Emma. Start today by reaching out with a kind word, offering forgiveness to someone who hurt you, or simply listening. With an open heart, your actions can inspire others, creating a ripple effect that spreads far beyond what you imagine. If this story touched you, share your own experiences of kindness and forgiveness in the comments. Your story might be the light someone else needs. And if you want more uplifting stories that remind us all of the strength in compassion, be sure to subscribe and join this community of hope and growth. Together, we can build a world where kindness never fails. So take that step, because your kindness matters and your forgiveness can heal. Be the change you wish to see.